want to be, as you listen, if you don't want to be in the recording, just keep your microphone and camera off. This doesn't mean that you are not welcome to interact. The other ways around. You can make use of the chat box. So any comments, question, or information that you want to share with the other, just please type it in the chat box. You will not be able to unmute yourself and to turn on your camera in the main room when presentations are ongoing, but you are very much welcome to engage in the breakout rooms and in the discussion, where you will have the opportunity to turn camera and microphone on. In the breakout rooms, the discussion will not be recorded, so safe place. With no further hesitation, I will now ask Karsten Rothballer, Coordinator for Sustainable Resources, Climate and Resilience Team at ICLEI Europe, to help me welcoming you and to turn a little bit on the topic of this workshop and how community energy, ICLEI, and the overarching topic of zero pollution of this edition of the Green Week are related. So Karsten, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia, for these words, and welcome also from my side. Here working at ICLEI as coordinator in the headquarters of the European Secretariat based in Freiburg in Germany. I would like to give you some food for thought at the beginning that potentially can be related to the discussion further on. Let me say, first of all, that there are many doors towards sustainability and towards climate neutrality in particular. Depending on where you are, on which floor potentially you are located, where you live, in which local municipality you are connected to, the doors, the political entry doors might be different. So nevertheless, there are many reasons to open several doors politically as well as technically to go further and to achieve in an accelerated path climate neutrality. Next slide, please. So this edition of the Green Week, which we are organizing, the site workshop here, is connected with the focus on zero pollution. And Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, was indicating here quite strongly that pollution is one of the 5 leading causes of biodiversity loss, which we shouldn't ignore, neglect any longer. And thus the European Commission is dealing with a strategy on biodiversity by 2030 here with a specific paper as part of the European Green Deal, which is a broader picture, which I'm sure you are all familiar with. And also here, I can say you have different entry doors. If we understand the biodiversity as part of the natural resources, which are the foundation of our economic development, then I think it's very clear that these natural resources need to be handled very carefully. And currently, we all know these are depleting. So a focus on this, a focus on water, on clean air, is quite useful. It has also taken the example of, for instance, Krakow, of Warsaw, where air pollution has triggered movements, civic movements to reform the energy footprint, phasing out of coal, planning the phase of coal here in these cities quite tremendously. And it also connects to what the Commissioner for Environment and Ocean and Fishery was saying at the Green Week, that zero pollution is not only a political and a technological challenge, but it can also mobilize our creativity, in society on the way of a just transition. Next slide, please. And there are many opportunities, I believe, that are out there that we as advocates for more civil engagement, for more engagement of the local level towards the higher level strategies of the European Green Deal, which is going also local here with the focus on how to engage. On zero pollution, this can mean and should mean that local governments interact with local businesses, with academia, with NGOs, but in particular also with citizens. And here it's up to your local government, but also up to you how to engage, how to mobilize, which platforms are out there. The European Commission, but also the Committee of the Regions, for instance, are offering several platforms of engagement, but I think most importantly, local platforms should be used and local doors should be opened. Next slide, please. So having said that, I think it's very important if you come from a different angle, and we have here several also experts from different projects, PowerPoor, for instance, focusing on energy poverty, tackling energy poverty, alleviating energy poverty, here to connect to the understanding of what are the benefits, what are the connections in relation to, in this case, energy poverty, a social issue, but very much also linked to the energetic footprint, which is usually still quite fossil-based. What economic implications does it have? A switch to renewable energy forms. So these connections, I'm inviting you to discuss today, to think about, and together with our experts, and in that sense, open new doors for new discussions, but also for more accelerated action. Next slide, please. Whatever you do, analyze, act, accelerate. These are the steps which we are using as eClay in order to walk the path, to plan for climate neutrality. Here, in a very structured way, a methodology that first of all leads us to commit and mobilize politically, but also on a local societal level, the engagement on zero pollution, on biodiversity, on climate adaptation or climate mitigation. Next feature here of this slide, but it will eventually take you through the various steps, which we are not going into detail now, but eventually you come to the reporting phase. You should tell what your lessons, you should inspire others. And as we said, it is important to also then advocate if you have identified, and today we will identify also barriers further to alleviate and to change these obstacles in directives or in on a national or even sometimes local level. Next slide, please. And here, energy communities come into play. Currently, they are in terms of the renewable energy mix still a fraction, but if we look into the possibilities of the future, going 100% renewables, I believe there is a tremendous potential here for them also to be together with collective action a huge part of the movement and of in this case of the cake on renewable energy forms. Next slide. And this is a focus which we would like to discuss, and rightly so, with community energies, not only focusing with a primary purpose to provide environmental, economic, and social community benefits for their members, but also for their local area in which they are situated. Having said that, I would like to welcome you once again. I hope you enjoy this workshop, and I hand over to Sylvia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carsten, for this inspiring opening that reminds about the importance of the topic that we are going to discuss today. And of course, we are here talking about a renewable energy community, citizens energy community, but also collective actions, which are the scope of the investigation of the DECIDE project. And talking about that, let's have a look at who is with us today. There are three cases, three experiences on the ground that we want to bring your attention and build upon. We have Ulfer Hone, CEO and co-founder of Our Power cooperative in Austria, which is a DECIDE pilot. Daniel Rodig, a senior expert at DOOR, Society for Sustainable Development Design in Croatia, part of the PowerPoor project, as well as Francesco Tutino, who is a senior expert in the energy department of the city of Bologna. Together with them, we have a few colleagues that will support and make sure the smooth unfold of the event. We have colleagues from Thinky, who are the coordinators of the project, the colleagues from the University of Mannheim that have been in first line and in doing the research that we are going to present you shortly, as well as Ms. Eleni Cannello from the PowerPoor project and Mr. Arthur Inch from RES. Last, a quick look at the agenda before handing over to Lucia. Following this short introduction, we will hear a little bit more about DECIDE, what it is or why DECIDE, maybe better question. Then we'll have a 5 minutes warm-up exercise to wake up our senses before getting into the core of the workshop of today. So what makes people participating is the presentation that will be delivered by the colleagues of the University of Mannheim with the outcomes of the research so far in the DECIDE project, followed by the snapshot on what is happening on the ground by the three cases. Then we will have enough time for discussion, 3 rooms, 2 rounds, and before coming back together in the main room to share the outcomes. Packed agenda, so with no further hesitation, I would invite Lucia Rakocevic, project manager and DECIDE coordinator at Thinky, to tell a little bit why is DECIDE needed. Lucia, over to you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Lucia Rakocevic, and I'm leading DECIDE project. I have the honor to lead DECIDE project, as you'll hear today from our colleagues, as you've heard also from Sylvia and Carsten, but also colleagues from University of Mannheim and also our pilot in Austria, Our Power. Why is DECIDE needed, which is what I wanted sort of to explain. How did we get to this project? As you've heard already from Carsten, in the clean energy package of EU and also the Green Deal, citizens are put at the center of energy sector, of the changing energy sector. And citizen participation in this energy sector is through prosumers, but also through energy communities. So citizens getting together to implement more renewable energy projects, improve their neighborhoods, and also act together in the society. And in DECIDE project, please go back. And in DECIDE project, the main thing that we wanted to see is that, okay, these energy communities and collective energy actions are not something that's new. This is something that already exists in Europe in certain places. So we wanted to bring together some of these examples, as you can see on the next slide, that we have across Europe, in Estonia, for example, Belgium, Austria, Germany, and Greece. And I wanted to learn from them what are some of the ways that their members engage, what makes maybe other people not engage these sort of actions and why, and also learn what are some of the enabling framework that is needed for these actions to work, and then learn from them, help them grow, but also replicate some of the best cases. So within DECIDE, the approach, please next slide, the approach within DECIDE is we bring together social scientists, we bring together people that are from the pilots, that are on the ground, and they discuss how the citizen can be engaged what motivates them to join these initiatives, what motivates them to stay on the border, let's say, and just to look at how this is happening so that we can learn how to better engage them. This is also very different, as Karsten mentioned. There is many doors. It's very different across EU. It's very different between different, let's say, cultures, but also different social aspects that the different parts of Europe have. And we want to approach every aspect around European Union. And then also we want to look at the enabling framework. We're looking into regulations, we're looking into business models, what are the legal aspects that are needed for these energy communities and collective actions to work. And then finally, some lessons learned that we pull out from all of these different aspects are exchanged between pilots, between replicants that you hear about later on, but also different, let's say, people that want to be informed about energy communities or collective actions that are part of the DECIDE community. So this is shortly, let's say, what DECIDE is about. I saw that Valeria already shared some links in the chat. So if you're interested to learn more about our project, please follow. And I'm really excited to hear the discussion today and to hear also from the other pilots that we have involved here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lucia, and exactly touching upon the importance of exchanging and connecting different experiences. We are going now to the warm-up exercise. So we designed the workshop in a way that it's as close to reality as possible. And one of the things that happen in real workshop is that people get together, get to talk together. So to try to facilitate the same feeling, we are going now to split all of you, all participants, in room of 3 people each. You will have 2 minutes to get to know the other people that are together with you in the room. We would like you to introduce yourself by saying your name, the organization that you come from, and the reason why you are joining this workshop. So I will now ask my colleague Valeria Erin, which, by the way, I thank you very much for managing all the technical aspects of this event, to open the room. You will be magically transported in another virtual space, and at the end of the 2 minutes, you will come back exactly here to start off with the setup. quite violent. I know that's always the case with breakout rooms, and apologies for that. Those are the rules of the game. But I hope that this short time was useful for you to get a bit more acquainted with the platform, with the topic, and with your colleagues on the line. Now it's time then to call on Sonia Klingert, researcher and research project manager at University of Mannheim, and ask her to enlighten us on the research that the DECIDE project has been conducting so far and which are the main outcomes. So I invite Georgia to take the floor. Sonia to take the floor and share the screen.
You're muted. Sonia, you're muted.
Okay, now it works, right?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I would like to take you through the idea of why people participate in energy communities in the next couple of minutes in order to prepare for the breakout rooms where we want to deal with the real issues that energy communities or collective actions can encounter. So in order to do this, I have to say my computer is very, very slow. I hope it won't break down through during the session. So let's all pray. In the next 10 minutes, I would like to take you through the different ways of engagement, looking at motivators and barriers of people in order to engage or not to engage. I will focus on how to really make people care about the objectives of energy communities. I will then introduce the threat of energy communities or of energy issues everywhere, the so-called rebound effect, and end with a summarizing conclusion for communication guidelines. So first of all, when we talk about engaging people, we should make sure that we know how we want them to engage, what we really want them to do. Do we want just to inform them, give them some information via flyers or websites, and then let them alone with what they are going to do with them? Do we want to consult them? That means giving them specific advice targeted at their situation and some feedback of, for instance, via survey of what they can do with it. Or do we want to go a step further and include them into a bi-directional interaction process and communication, as for instance via a workshop, as we are having one today? Or this is basically the peak of it. Do we want them to collaborate on a really regular basis so that all kinds of activity becomes a common activity? Of course, the latter is the most intense way of engagement, but also the most demanding way. It can be the most effective way depending on what you want people to do, but you should be clear on that from the beginning. So then when we've decided about what we want people to do, we need to analyze if it's really possible to engage them in that way. That means we have to look into motivators and barriers, for instance, from an economic side that can spur that can be incentive to invest into an energy community or a collective action because I want to reduce costs. But it can be also, of course, a barrier saying I might lose money. Administrative issues, at least nowadays, still are mostly barriers towards engagement. For instance, in Germany, it is difficult, really difficult to share your electricity with your neighbor. We definitely need to look into social motivators and barriers, most important, social norms. The question is it well received by my neighborhood if I advance them, asking them to share electricity with me? I mean, this is something that at the moment people really don't do. There can be personal motivators and barriers, as for instance, I want to live more sustainably. But on the other hand, I may have a very, very limited budget of time. And of course, we must not forget technical issues, as for instance, appliances that we have or not have, or a very cool new tool that I want to try out. So understanding all these issues leads to, or might lead to, a redefinement of what we want people to do and about the basics of this energy community or the collective action. But in the end, what we want people to do is we want them to care. There are some behavior changes that we want them to have, as for instance, we want them to cycle more. We want them to install PV and use electricity. That might mean that we want them to turn on the washer or the vacuum cleaner whenever there is enough electricity available from your rooftop PV, an issue that I have with my family, for instance, whatever. But mostly, people look at individuals and into the mere me, and then we say, okay, we really cannot contribute. My contribution is so small, and it's really hard to stay motivated over a longer time. So the key is to think beyond the I and think into the we, and to create a synergy of groups of people. In order to do this, there are some necessities that we need to have. This would be, for instance, a group, an in-group identification. I need to have a group where I have the feeling I belong. Otherwise, there is no collective action. At least there is no energy community. One example could be, for instance, what we call the Bad Hindelanger Klettersteig. This is in one of our pilots, the idea is that people climb up a ladder until in the end, collectively, they reach the goal to be more or less CO2 free or based on renewables or things like that. And we need to go beyond this problem that my contribution is so small. We have to have a collective efficacy believe, this yes we can, right? We need to have methods to spur that, and we need to create emotions. Without emotions, there is no engagement in a collective action, and specifically not in an energy community. And finally, as I said before, we need the norms. The social norms should help us. And if the social norms on the level of society don't help us, then we have to create and work our in-group norms and goals. And in order to achieve all this, what we need to know is we need to have a very clear storyline of what our energy community, of what our collective action means to us. We need to have an identity, maybe build on one that is already existing, because people have a social identity, they have social ties already. And in order to foster this idea of we can achieve something together, we need to give feedback, constant feedback, and inform about the progress of where we are with regards to the achievement of our goals. And of course, we have to think and have to have a clear eye and a clear ear on the emotions and motivations going on in the group. And we might even want to manage them and see that we deal with issues once they arise and not too late. And finally, of course, as I said before, we need to create our own pro-environmental norms inside the group that are really supporting and carrying us as a group. And if we do all this well, this might still be threatened by something called the rebound effect. This is the paradox that if you increase energy efficiency on a level of product or processes, you decrease the cost for each product or process, which means that people tend, this is the direct rebound effect, people tend to buy more of it. And indirectly, of course, we sort of increase the volume of our purse, because with less cost per piece, we can buy more. So in the end, even though the original idea was to save energy, we increase the consumption of energy. What can we do to deal with this threat is exactly doing our job that I sketched before very well. We need to build social norms that don't allow to dwell on this energy efficiency achievements that we had until now. And we have to have very clear goals and keep focus on these goals. For instance, a declining CO2 budget. If it's gone for the year. And no energy efficiency will make me use more than there is. And in order to conclude, what we can do here is have some communication guidelines. So we need a tailored approach that deals with the specific groups inside our community, but also with the specific engagement levels and engagement activities that we want to have for them, taking into account the barriers and motivating factors that make people care or that are hindering some behavior. It makes a lot of sense to build on existing groups, on existing social ties, because people already feel well inside their groups. But in order also to take track of the communication and of the clear goals and the efficacy of the group, we need to establish trust by, for instance, having progress reports and being transparent on issues and problems that arise. And what I mentioned in the beginning, of course, we need to frame it collectively. Basically, people are apes that are used to live in groups of 20, 25 people and that feel welcome and warm and good in groups, and we need to use that. And if we do all this well, then the rebound problems won't be too much of an issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia, and thank you for pointing out such a sometimes basic but so much fundamental elements that we have been that you've just been mentioning. I'm going to reshare my screen now, and let's see how those points reflect in the reality of the experiences that we have today with us. So I will invite first Mr. Uwe Ohne from our Power Coop Austria to please share his screen and his presentation with us, and to let us know how have been they engaging the community in their project, what the project is about, and how is it, what the struggles are, and what are the steps to overcome them. So Uwe, please, the floor is yours.
Okay,
for the
thanks
next
a lot.
7 minutes.
I tried to share my screen. Does it work?
It's uploading.
You see
That's
my
perfect.
screen? Okay, welcome. I'm proud to present you our power, the things we do, what we succeeded in, and the problems we face. Our power, as you see, is an energy cooperative based in Vienna in Austria. We've been founded ourselves in October 2018. 19 entrepreneurs and activists with a large background in energy issues, in electricity business, as well as renewable energies. The mission is citizen power, make it work. We operate and develop a peer-to-peer marketplace, and a couple of other things are in the pipeline. Now we have more than 440 members on the platform, which is operative since April 2020. 120 sellers are active, and at the moment nearly 600 buyers are there. The team is 7 people working for our power, mostly part-time at the moment. So we operate the digital marketplace. Sellers or producers can sell there and offer their electricity. Consumers can buy, and it's easy as switching to normal incumbent electricity sellers. We see ourselves as an infrastructure for energy, for citizen energy and collective action in the energy thing, in the energy market. The thing which worked best for us was a roadshow in Upper Austria. Upper Austria is the northern part of Austria where most of our shareholders and customers are, and where our focus work was. In 2019, we had 5 larger town hall meetings with around 50 to 100 visitors. We had a couple of small conferences in Vienna, more on the expert style, 15 smaller events with producers and many personal meetings, and that worked well. We acquired around 200 new members and users and a lot of media coverage as well. But mainly it was on paper, and we intended to be a digital platform, or to use a digital platform to really make it cost effective. And then came Corona, and no more meetings and events were possible, and forced us to try new things. Things we did and tried was hard selling road, direct mailings to nearly 20,000 letters to prosumers, telephone calls, written individual offers, door-to-door marketing in villages close to one of our wind farms, all done by local trusted people. And the effect was deplorable. Only around 120 new users and 60 members could be won in this street and this approach. The second thing we put a lot of effort into was social media marketing via Facebook and Google ads. And that was in steady increase. We also had an expert in this field in our team, or still have, and are proud of her. But conversion is too slow. Nobody of the environmental focused group tends to just buy electricity from her neighbors on the marketplace, in the internet. Some conversions are newsletter subscriptions that work, and participation in webinars we offered, but it is very hard to sell power on this way and to make people, local producers, sell their electricity in this way. So the point is, we have to find the tailored approach, as Sonia put it, to make electricity, we say, easy as gardening, because food co-ops and so on work even in the internet better than electricity. The point is, as we see it, on the internet, people are not in a group. The social norms are not as strong as in town hall meetings. It's not a social situation. They are at home, alone, unsecure what they are doing, unsecure what their neighbors would probably say. And then on the internet, they buy cheap. Most people buying electricity on the internet buy the cheaper electricity, even if they say green electricity would be worth. And they are more or less put in the idea that green electricity must be more expensive or much more expensive, and it is not. So for us, the thing is how to tailor the approach, how to make it a thing about acquaintance. One thing that worked good was a big webinar on women in energy business. And that was one of our most successful road to conversion, even in membership, but not in terms of buying or selling electricity, which is our main point. So the thing is how to tailor our approach and build up trust and acquaintance to make people become part of our power. And that's the thing I would like to discuss in the following workshops: how to tailor our approach, how to make collective energy easy and normal, like gardening, because everybody has a rooftop or a neighborhood or a town hall to put PV on, and everybody needs electricity. Thanks. That's my point at the moment.
Thank you so much, Ulfer. A lot of questions already, a lot of food for thoughts, and I like this idea of easy gardening. I think it's a very nice picture and gives a good sense of what we are discussing. I also like the fact that you touch upon gender and inclusivity, as well as how COVID impacted the way that we must think about engagement. Moving to Croatia, then, we'll be curious to hear from Daniel Rodic, senior expert at DOOR, about his experience and how he has been working to engage energy poor households in their activities. Daniel, over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Sylvia. I hope you can hear me well.
We do.
Just a second. Okay. Okay, I hope you can also see the screen. I will talk a little bit more about the social aspect of energy consumption. First of all, again, my name is Daniel Rodic and I'm coming from civil society organization. Short abbreviation is DOOR in Croatian. We are based in Zagreb, and our mission is devoted to promotion of sustainable energy development, climate change mitigation, encouraging citizens' participation in sustainable energy policy making, and also improving education about renewable energy sources and alleviating energy poverty. So this is in one sentence what we do. I am glad to see here a lot of colleagues from various European projects here. And as I said, I will talk about, I'll talk about the energy poverty issue. So, and how to include citizens to participate. Some, let's say, 10 to 15 years ago, we identified social problem, which is not only the problem in Croatia, but in all European Union and globally, problem of energy poverty. So we try to see how it's connected to the energy consumption. And then from the first studies and first data, we have seen that more than 25 of households in Croatia are facing problems paying energy bills. And this number is increasing. Also, 10% of households cannot keep the home adequately warm. That is also important number. So if you're not familiar with energy poverty, there is only one question you have to pose to yourself is what is your energy bill and what is your income? So try to put this in perspective. If you are spending too much of your income for energy bills, that means you're in a way energy poor. And that explains the whole concept that energy poor person is not the one who lives in a really, poor home and is very poor. It's not reserved only for socially poor people, but also for a really broad number of, let's say, medium range households. One of the solutions, which really looks nice on the paper and on the slide, is to enable public support programs to combat energy poverty, directly increasing energy efficiency in the households using small and medium measures. This is, of course, hard to achieve because what we have done, we try to first gather stakeholders on the national level, on the regional level, and on a local level. You have to talk with people who are dealing with various topics of social care, of social policy on a national level and on EU level. That is something what we did, let's say, to the top. On the ground level, or on the level of real problem, which I can say it's our best case example and our how to say, something that we are proud of, is household visits. So we so far managed to make around 1,000 household visits in Croatia in various regions. And this is where you get the information. This is where you see how the people live and how they consume energy, where they live, what are the houses. You can see on the picture one typical house in rural area near Petrinja. You might heard of the region because it was struck by earthquake last year. And then we started to involve volunteers. Also, very important thing is to educate volunteers and to gather students which can have knowledge to help households. We did few European projects and we did few very interesting studies on energy poverty in Southeast Europe region and locally in few counties and the cities. The problems that we encountered are many, of course, because you don't always get, you don't always have, how to say, you're not tapped on the shoulder, yeah, you're doing right, but a lot of the policymakers do not see the problem. First of all, it is because the problem is not defined. Energy poverty is not defined well. In Croatia, we don't have an official definition. The problem is hidden sometimes. You cannot find it where it is. As I said, also it can be stigmatic, so person can feel really bad about being poor, even they don't know what is energy poor, but just the term energy poor can be very stigmatic. And also, as Sonia said, there is a rebound effect, but that is something that we are looking in the future, what will happen. You know, if you increase energy efficiency, if there will be any rebound effect, will people spend more on other commodities? Also, what is important, what we try to look for are impacts of poverty and energy poverty. So what are the impacts in connection to health? If the person is living in a very lousy insulated house, what are also the, you know, if there is any connection to, and what connection is to health problems, not only physical, but mental also. And of course, economic and environmental issues. And to move on to our future activities, we are in the PowerPoor project and we are planning to open 2 energy poverty centers in Croatia, which will be direct links for the households and anybody who is willing to learn and to invest even small measures or larger measures in energy efficiency. We will continue with our studies. We are involving various experts from the social topic studies, and also what is already mentioned here and what is the topic of this workshop is how to involve energy communities, how to involve renewable energy solutions for energy poor people. There are some ideas that we are developing in PowerPoor project, and our idea is first of all to let's say make administration process easier and to make it appealing. And yes, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Again, a lot of elements to reflect upon. I like the fact that you have been mentioning this different level that you are advocating to the local, the regional, the national. Of course, when you talk about engagement, we think about communities, but also governance is an important element to secure the uptake of such initiatives. And you also are involving students, which I think it's a very good point. And
yes, it's a very good. It was a whole project to involve students to do something we call the social benefit. So it's kind of work where they are, contributing for the social cause, and that worked really well. Yeah.
I'm sure that this will be something interesting to deepen in the discussion later on, together with these centers that you are thinking about opening. One question that I would have if I would be in your room is how you avoid stigmatization, for example. That's also maybe something, but we leave it there for now. As we move to the next speaker, we have Francesco Tutino presenting us what the city of Bologna is doing, and specifically what the GECO project is. Francesco, I invite you to share your screen and to turn on mic and camera. Mr. Tutino is a senior expert in the energy department of the city of Bologna in Italy. Francesco, please, the floor is yours. It might be that Francesco has some troubles.
Yes, you have to unlock me. I have locked it with you.
Just a second. Wait. You should be able to.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Please feel ready to start.
It's okay now?
It is indeed.
Yes, I have a very short presentation about our activities. I am Francesco Tutino from Municipality of Bologna. I repeat, then I work on environmental sector, and I follow the environmental assessment in specific in the energy field as a territorial technicians, and I follow the voluntary activities of the municipality, and in particular the Sustainable Energy Action Plan and the Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan now. And you see this is a representation of the path of Bologna towards carbon neutrality that we propose now to the City Council. The municipality has applied the Sustainable Action Plan in 2008, and then approved the adaptation action plan blew up after, and then now we have approved the Sustainable Action Plan. And in this process, the municipalities tried I always do involve citizen in drafting and planning, because it is a crucial point to have good result in this purpose, in these activities. And then this is quickly review of the result of the sustainability of our work. You can see the monitoring of emission inventory, and that showed as we obtained just in the 2018 the result of the PAES, and then we draft a scenario towards zero emission before 2015, then in 2040, with a reduction about 97%. And this is obviously only a scenario, but we draft the Sustainable Action Plan that the target is minus 44% by 2030, with the perspective to obtain zero in 2042. And then you know that the main part of emission in our cities is by excessive building. Then the measures, the action are concentrated on excessive building too. About 60% of emission origin by excessive building, but we have speed up the process of refurbishment, deep requalification, energy requalification of building, starting on the housing, on the private housing. You know that in Italy, but not in the property, the housing is privately owned in the large majority. Then it's very important to involve the overall citizen in the SECAP, in the implementation of action of SECAP and action towards buildings. Then we have, like a municipality, mainly two tools. That is regulation tools. Then we have urban plan and building regulation, and then dialogue with citizen. We have to involve, we have to engage citizen in the process. And the municipality of Bologna begins to involve the citizen, like in the school, because we have a special point, energy and showroom, energy and environment, where we daily propose a program for students. And then we follow to promote the city's participation in the training and the implementation of the plan with the public meeting and so on. Obviously, during the pandemic situation, these activities was more difficult, and then in particular the Sustainable Energy Action Plan involved and engaged the stakeholders that just was engaged in the previous SIP, and but now with the main action that we want to propose in the SICAP is the one-stop shop, and the place where we wanted to mobilize the demand of citizens towards the companies, and then open a very close dialogue from companies and citizens to push more than just we are very pushing by a strong tax discount. Maybe you know that in Italy there are in this moment the possibility to have a strong tax discount to have to manage deep refurbishment of building, but it's not enough because for example we are in the last 3 months we register more than 400 projects in the refurbishment of housing, but we need about more. We need about 1,000 for years, a lot to obtain the result of CCOP, the neutralization. Moreover, then if I sorry, my presentation. Okay, then the focus point now is to develop the energy, the community energy, renewable energy communities. That is the new tools that we have, thanks to the RED II directive that oblige the nation to develop the renewable energy community, and we could be. We will be have the opportunity to follow the result of the GECO project. GECO project is applied in the special in the place in Bologna. The name is Roveri. This is a place with industry and social housing and normalizing too. And then there is a very special place to engage citizens and the companies too. And then the GECO proposes to develop to build a district energy community to create a legal entity to take advantage in the new energy market opportunities, and then increase renewable energy production, obviously develop with new business models. Then we want to build a system to the academy in particular is involved in this project, and propose a platform, a special platform to facilitate the exchange of energy, the auto-consume model, and then the project is a very engaged to to engage the people, promote activities for the promotion of more sustainable behaviors within the community, and with a special communication and diffusion program of the project result. And then our objective now is to apply the final result. We will be final result in 2020 and the end of 2021 of the project, and when we want to try to reply in the city the result of this project. That's it now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francesco, for taking us through the activities that Bologna is undergoing. And it's good to hear that local governments are really playing such a big role in facilitating those kind of initiatives to be established. And it's good to hear that 400 projects were not enough for you and you're aiming for more. This is what we need to have very bold municipalities at the forefront. And also good to hear that this is a pilot project, but the intention is to extend it to other areas of the cities, maybe in the future. More questions, I'm sure, from the audience will be coming your way in the next session. So after having so many information, it's time to discuss and elaborate a little bit more on that. For this, we designed this sort of readapted version of a word cafe. We will now split all of you across 3 different rooms. We will be sure to have open-minded people ready to participate and engage and share your experience. If you are knowledgeable about the topic, let others know what have been happening in your case. Or if you are not, why not to pose a question and trigger discussion in this way. The first round will take 40 minutes roughly. We are a bit behind of time, so it might be a bit shorter. After those first 40 minutes, you will be asked to change room. This will be possible by selecting yourself the room of your interest. And in this second round, you will have the chance to look at what have been developed by the other participants in the previous round of discussion, and to complement, feed and comment the notes that you will see on the board. So I will kindly ask my colleague Valeria now to open the room and to move us magically. Welcome back to all of you once again. I'm sorry for cutting your conversation. I'm sure it happened in the other rooms as well. I really hope you had an interesting discussion. You managed to have a look at what have been produced in the other rooms, and let's share a bit of those thoughts with all participants. So now I will ask the moderators to please take the floor for 3 minutes, so very short time. I know that probably you collected way more interesting things to point out, but please highlight just the main ones in order to close the meeting on time. I will invite Sonia first and Mona. They were handling the first room together with the colleagues of Our Power to share what have been discussed in their room.
Mona, could you share the mirror board again? Ah, there she is. Okay, we started from really those guidelining questions. What were the difficulties that Our Power encountered? Where are the motivators? What are the kind of people that rather connect to Our Power? And then we had some ideas after analyzing all this regarding to actions. And maybe Ulfert or Mona, if I omit a very important one, tell me so, but I think the most difficult thing that people said would be barriers are the reliability, to convince people of the reliability of this new way of consuming electricity from and selling the electricity from a distributed point of view, and also that at the moment we are living in the world where people like to market themselves, and where we are much more public than we used to be. And finally, that in order to not only in order to promote climate change, but in itself, this way of consuming and selling electricity is the modern way of having electricity. It's hip, it's cool, we really want to do that. And so one real huge issue that Ulfert identified was to go from physical meetings and physical interactions before Corona, which worked quite well, to more digitized interaction via a website. And he said we have the real problem of making people convert their interest that is visible from clicking on the website to something where they really take action. And the ideas that we collected to work with all these, to work on all these issues, is involve the youths, because they are the next generation, and do so by not only regarding the youths, but for everybody to do so by having an app probably that gives you the opportunity to very easily make pictures and transport them on the website, have them on your profile, a little bit like Instagram. At the same time, of course, giving ideas of technical issues, like a dashboard where you can see from whom you consumed or to whom you sold which amount of kilowatt hours. This is one area of activity. The other would be to really link to existing communities. As I said in the talk before, Our Power has tried to do that, but they could do that more, like having some digital town hall meetings involving the authorities more than this was done before, and maybe work with groups as Friday for Futures. But I think you already started on that one. And I think, oh yeah, and also one issue is that it is really difficult to market the difference between a regular offer of green electricity and the one offered by Our Power, which is matchmaking basically. And so this also has educational aspects. So we were thinking of something like inverted classrooms or blended learning approaches which could be merged onto the website. And I think that is more or less the most important. Those are more or less the most important points. Or have I forgotten something important? Ulfert, Mona? No.
I see you for a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for this nice summary. Indeed, it's good that you mentioned the fact that there are new ways of communication, new ways of interaction, and indeed those kinds of initiative, energy and collective action initiatives should leverage and make use of those. So social media, mirroring a little bit what is working there and why not learning from that. I also like the idea of inverted classes, which is something that again takes the problem from another perspective. So thank you so much. I want to ask now to the colleagues that were in the second room together with Dor, Daniel, so Eleni and Selina, to share what have been discussed there. Wow, I see a full board there. Who is going to present it first? Eleni, can you hear us? I see that you have a bit of a technical challenge. So just 1 second to fix it. Okay. You should be able now to speak.
Thank you.
Apologies for that.
No problem. I was a bit dramatic. I'm not able to talk, but I wanted to just tell you really fast. So what was discussed in our room as well is the same as in the first room, that COVID is actually one of the main barriers, since door-to-door is one of the most efficient ways of engaging with people suffering from energy poverty and empowering them and helping them. So this is really difficult, and it's become really difficult in the online version of things. When it comes to admin, so that's where we agree with room one. When it comes to ethical barriers, sometimes it is you need some really personal data in order to define whether someone suffers from energy poverty or not. So you can find resistance, or if from companies at the same time, they may not disclose information. For instance, in research, you may need to see whether companies have different approaches in vulnerable groups or not. So it's hard from this perspective. Another really really important aspect we discussed was the personal one. We had to, actually, the thing is you need to have personal and soft skills in order to approach people suffering from energy poverty, so as they don't get stigmatized, or if you don't approach them in a nice manner, they may not respond nicely. You need to go there and approach them, but by not telling them, oh, you suffer, I'm going to help you, rather than, so please show me around your house and tell me a little bit about what you consume and everything. And finally, the most important thing is education in all the layers. So from the people themselves, that they need to know how to read the energy bill, because sometimes it's really complicated and has all these taxes in, and they don't know what they pay, but they pay either way. So we have the thing of education, also the local hero. So this is the person where in a local level can know everything and motivate their neighbors, and it may not be a person from the municipality, just one person that is really engaged in all the process and really wants to help the community. And also the whole education part to go up to the ministry, and sometimes even the Ministry of Energy doesn't know how to what sometimes energy stands for, or what people pay in their houses. So we talked about a lot of things. One last one, and that's it. I'm gonna give the floor to the next one, is about who is going to establish the energy communities, and who is going to fill the gap between the local and the government level. Is going to be an NGO? Who is going to get there, fill in the gap, and actually help people to establish this innovative joint energy initiatives and innovative financing schemes way of addressing energy poverty? I'm not sure. As you can see, there are a lot more stuff in this board. Daniel, is there anything I'm missing?
No, I don't think so. Yes, we covered most of it. One more thing, we also spoke about the specific energy, how to say, energy consumption patterns. Like in Poland, there is a consumption of coal, and it's very traditional, and it's hard to convince government and people to go to the other direction, and but I think we covered everything here. Thanks.
Thank you so much to you for sharing this experience. Indeed, the specific segment of the population that you and DOR is working to together with the PowerPoor project, it's something that is very required for a particularly sensitive approach. So indeed, the manner and the phrasing and the communication is key in order to meet the target. And you mentioned the importance of communication at all levels, and I think that here Arthur can jump in and share the discussion that we had in the room together with the city of Bologna, as this was one of the points that was pinpoints as well.
Exactly. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you to the previous presenters. Well, of course, we had 2 rounds, so there was also some cross-pollination between the different breakout rooms, and that had an impact on our points, and especially on the proposed action part. Quickly taking you through, I mean, communication was mentioned in the last point. Yes, that was indeed a very strong aspect here as well in terms of barriers. And we also noticed that it's difficult to talk about barriers and motivators in action without, acknowledging that they're very much intertwined. But yes, communication very important. So we noticed that it is indeed a barrier to start the dialogue with citizens just in general, but also with different demographics and different target groups really, and to encourage them to participate in a collective energy endeavor. We noticed, and I saw that this point also came up in the previous discussion, that the trust in managing institutions, we listed it as a barrier. Others listed it as a proposed action, and of course it's both. So here, for instance, local government or any other sort of carrying entity really has an important role to play, being a trustworthy institution, sort of acting as in an exemplary manner. And here I'm just going to connect quickly to an action actually. So we had the point of engaging as a local hero, so that it's very easy, but it's very convenient and very useful to have someone in the community who can take forward, essentially the project a little bit and act as an example, but really someone who might be knowledgeable and who's trusted, and that people really would like to, be inspired by, and then as a result join the project. Of course, there are social barriers. How do you make people participate in different settings, condominiums, and then other areas where you have to really take into account the collective interests of a certain group of people. Administrative barriers, like those still exist, despite the fact that in Italy or different member states, the sort of framework conditions for renewable energy communities are improving slowly but steadily as a result of the recast Renewable Energy Directive. Technical barriers, of course, that there are still limitations on energy production and sharing to some extent, so limits on how much energy a renewable energy community can produce, for instance. So we saw all these barriers, but we also identified a lot of motivators here. So we've seen that, despite the fact that it's difficult to reach out to certain people, there is a certain understanding that you really can speak about like intrinsic motivation of a certain group of people in the citizenry to actually participate in these kind of endeavors. And that is not only related to renewable energy, that is quite clearly related to sustainable energy actions on the local level in general. So it's very important to connect those. And here as a proposed action, for instance, we had the example from Bologna where they very clearly, use the sort of overarching heading of climate emergency as a means to facilitate democratic participatory processes with citizens to enable them not only to participate in renewable energy communities, but also to engage in other things with regards to urban sustainability. So here, understanding that all these things are interlinked is very important. Networking is very important in terms of a motivator. So people really want to see this as something that goes beyond energy and really talks about them being part of a network with a good group of people. Well, without going into everything in depth, I mean, we had some examples of, it's being very important to have like a one-stop shop on the municipal level, for instance, where really people can, they can approach it and ask questions and have their questions answered very easily with regards to how they can become part of renewable energy community. In Bologna, they're very eager and very keen on starting the engagement of citizens at a very young age already, so in schools already. And the question obviously is, how can you connect and how can you very effectively sort of communicate the importance of participating in collective energy endeavors to different demographics, depending on age and depending on income levels, etc. So having some kind of platform to facilitate the exchange between citizens, but also on a cross departmental level is very important. And perhaps lastly, I mean, we had a specific point on it's important to include specific requirements in the regulation. That always helps. And we've seen from other member states, for instance, in the case of the Netherlands, where, now in their updated legal framework, they say that up to 50% of renewable energy projects need to be in the hands of, or that new renewable energy projects need to have up to 50% of their shares in the hands of the local community. So these kind of things can really act as a key supporting action from a regulatory perspective as well to carry community energy projects forward. So again, we see that all these things are very much interconnected, and I think we had a quite good and open discussion.
Well, thank you so much. I don't know if Francesco wants to add something to it.
No, I think it's enough now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for presenting your experience. Indeed, it's good to see how local governments can actually make the difference. And there are some of them that are very, very active at the forefront, driving the way towards the rollout of renewable energies. Others that are a bit more reluctant. And here is where civil society can come into the picture and help bringing the message to them. So this action at all levels is indeed it's indeed important to make the initiative successful. I'm minded about time, so I would go straight and ask to Arnor van Lemputen, who is research and development engineer at Thinky, to give us a little bit of some reflection on the discussion that we just have and to frame it within the decide actions from now onwards. So Arnor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I will quickly take over the screen sharing if this is allowed.
Please do it.
If it's stuck, can you still hear me?
Loading.
Should be fine now, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So I think we had a beautiful wrap up already in the previous comments, previous section about all the nice workshop we had. I think it was a very interesting workshop with a lot of good interactions and really interesting points. I would like to a bit discuss with you what's in store for this site in the coming months and weeks. So this site actually aims at investigating also what motivates people to join our community. I think that's also what driven our workshop here today. There are initiatives and other partners that we interact with from all over Europe to do this. Amongst them are also some of the partners here in the meeting today, just like Rescope. I think in the next month or in the next coming months, we have more than 10 replicants, registered replicants from the pilots in the site. I think this is really amazing that these replicants will be trying out best practices identified by the pilots in the project. Of course, the site not only aims to investigate what is motivating people, but also is trying to improve this interaction, improve this knowledge sharing of energy communities. And to do this over the summer, we will launch the Community Energy Knowledge Hub. And the Knowledge Hub aims to be, just as it says, a knowledge hub for lots of information. It aims to not only be limited to the site project outcomes, but really to include all kinds of interesting project best practices, worst practices even, to be included in this Knowledge Hub. And next to this, there is also the coffee shop, which will be launched in August. And the coffee shop aims to be a place for pilots, replicants, followers of a DECIDE project to interact, to engage with each other, to share ideas, and to see what can come out of this. Over the next 6 months, or the next coming year, I think every month from within the site, there will be another webinar or another session or workshop just like this organized. And the next one is already in July. So definitely invite you to also join that one. I think it will be very interesting as well as this. And then I would like to thank you for your attention here today, for your presence here today. Seeing that we all had a little bit over time, I would like to stop here. I think it was very interesting. I got a few very interesting ideas. I hope you did as well and enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you so much to Arnor, and just a big thank you also for all the people that made this workshop possible. So Ulf from Our Power, Daniel from Door Initiative, and Francesco from the Municipality of Bologna, as well as, of course, Sonia and the colleagues from Uni Mannheim, and all the other projects, Arthur from RES and Eleni from PowerPoor. As Arnor said, we already have a few other activities in the pipeline, so we really warmly invite you to have a look and keep in touch in the next month, and let's make this behavioral change possible together. Thank you all, and I wish you a good continuation of your day.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for the organization and all the input we got. Thanks a lot to all.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.